Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I like this shirt that I'm wearing. There's something interesting for those of you that don't see it. It is a World Cup shirt from the last World Cup in 2022 that was hosted in the heavily Muslim country known as Qatar. So Muslim that it upset all of the tourists from all over the world that spent money to go to the World Cup, and they wanted to get hammered. They wanted to drink, and that's haram. They don't allow that in those kind of countries. They don't allow that. They don't. They also said that if you bring women, they have to stay in the hotel. That one's not true, but close enough, right? I mean, if a bunch of people are going to a sporting event, you got to get hammered, especially if it's the World Cup, especially soccer fans. Soccer fans are fantastic. They are the highest degree of fan, I think. I don't know if people get wilder than soccer fans.
Badminton fans.
Badminton fans, sure. Tennis, sometimes they clap a little louder than normal. Golf gets rowdy in the Ryder Cup.
Darts.
Yeah, darts
Cornhole.
now. Darts now, for some reason, people are paying attention to darts. What's that?
And then any college sport.
College sports? That's true as well. Well, it's because they're a bunch of dumb kids. They're a bunch of dumb kids.
Yeah,
that barely
a
counts.
Ohio State game or something like that.
Yeah.
That's like a
packed
rival.
up. Sure. So it's incredibly intoxicated young kids who got into really good colleges. They're rivaled by international soccer fans, I think, because soccer is played everywhere. It's the cheapest fucking game ever. Really. I mean, all you need is a ball. There's nets. You don't even need nets. All you need is, like, shoes, just markers, yeah. It's a saving grace for a lot of people, and it allows people to get really, really into it, and that usually involves drinking, intoxication, riots, a lot of riots. It's not really a lot of riots that happen at, like, bad riots where people get hurt. It doesn't happen at college games, right?
It can.
It
Definitely
can, definitely.
They storm the field and they knock down the goalpost and they wreck their own campus for some
Right.
reason. You know,
Yeah.
like we go to school here.
And they destroy it.
And
yeah.
they destroy it, yeah.
Well, I'm just, I just think that soccer, a few years ago, there was in Indonesia, a bunch of people got murdered at a soccer game. They like to kill, I think. In
Probably happens in Brazil every soccer game, I think.
Brazil, a lot of those countries where the laws are, they don't want to make criminals out of everybody, so they don't have as many laws. And if soccer's going on, then it's a good reason to kill. Especially if your hometown loses. But anyway, back to the point, back to the shirt. All right, we got off track talking about the extreme fanatics, soccer fanatics around the world. But this shirt is a Budweiser shirt because before Qatar went ahead and said, hey, we're not going to serve alcohol, which they should have said up front, I think. They made a bunch of gear because they were going to be partners with Budweiser. And I worked at a place that was a sports book at Mohegan Sun, and they gave us a bunch of gear. And now I have not only this fantastic statement of American strength and power and marketing in the form of a shirt, I also have a Budweiser in Qatar scarf as well that I'll be able to wear. So I like that. I like wearing juxtapositioned clothing, especially when it's a statement against one of the biggest religions in the world. Anyway, I feel like it's worth noting that we made a little mistake. Everyone made a little mistake last week in assuming that little cunt bitch Lil Tay died. And what a shame that we were all wrong. We were wrong.
Fuck Lil Tay.
Lil Tay. We went easy on her. All right?
Dumpster slut.
Yeah, that little whore. We were all very excited, most of us, when we saw the news that Lil Tay finally would be, she'd be gone. Her and her brother both gone forever. We'd never have to worry about seeing her flexing with more money than any of us make, right? I mean, we're grown people sitting in this room, and she made a lot more money. She hasn't even been on social media for 5 years, I understand.
For the YouTube community guidelines, you could just ignore this part for us. That would be a big help. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube's actually been good to us. YouTube hasn't. It's been TikTok. It's been Instagram. But YouTube.
I hid the dead body for you. You let us call Lil Tay some bad words today.
A stupid little entitled cum-swallowing 14-year-old whore who should be dead and buried like we were all hoping. It turns out it was a big hoax. A big,
She didn't get hacked, did she?
That's
all bullshit, right?
That's what they're saying. They're saying she got hacked.
But I think it's all bullshit, right? She just faked her death. Little bit of clout.
Sure, a little Adolf Hitler style. Little Machiavelli, right? That's his name, Machiavelli, the fucking Italian dude that faked his death.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tupac.
Do we think Tupac? I think I saw Tupac one day.
Well, Tupac had an album called Machiavelli.
Right. Well, Machiavelli. He called it Machiavelli because it's got to be cool. I mean, it's got to be cooler than the real guy.
But it's not a stretch, is it?
Right. Sure. Yeah, I don't know. But if you fake your death, you probably can't go back to your old life. Like she faked her death and went back on social media to say, hey, we're okay. Don't worry about it. Like, if
probably just didn't get the publicity she wanted. And it was like, I'll be alive again. It's fine.
Has anybody successfully faked their death and come back and been like, hey?
No. Like, if you fake your death, I don't think you do it to come back. Unless you're Lil Tay. She fucked it up.
You do it to disappear.
But, like, Tupac, he's chilling.
Yeah, he's got, like an
how
orange.
old would he be? Or is he?
He's probably, he died when I was born, 97. And he was like 20. He was in his early 20s, so he's probably 50.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the thing? Like, everyone dies at 27?
I think he was younger.
Like him,
I don't think
Janis Joplin.
Right. I don't know if he was part of the 27 Club. I think he was younger. Him and Biggie were pretty fucking young when they died.
Born in 71, died in 96. So that's 24?
Maybe. It says it right next to it.
It's just cut off, though.
Okay.
Age
25.
Okay.
Yeah, so he'd be like, 51, something like that. 50s, early 50s. He's got a orange farm in Guyana that he's chilling at.
And what was his approximate net worth? Because he's not getting any royalty checks anymore. So, like...
Right, because he's not Tupac.
Death net worth.
Maybe he is pimping out Lil Tay. Who knows what his net worth was?
Not even Google, apparently.
You can't even find it. It's because they're trying to that's more reason to believe that he's alive somewhere. He's probably making tons of money off of his hustle that he has now. What was he worth?
$200,000. I would have faked my own death, too.
At the time of his death, he was worth $200,000. Okay. In 96, that might be a couple million now. But... like all great artists, they're worth more dead than they are alive, as is the case with Lil Tay, because I could only imagine what some of her articles of clothing or her accessories may have sold for had she been dead. There's definitely some rich 12-year-old who was a big fan of Lil Tay, and she would have bugged her family to get the sunglasses that they were going to bury her in, and keep that, because it's really, the people don't understand, the price of things are set at what some asshole will pay for it. Right? Like the price, like Post Malone bought that Magic the Gathering card that was like really expensive. It's like $2.5 million. And it's like, who's going to beat him? I mean, there's obviously richer people than Post Malone, but he's the guy who set it at that price, $2.5 million. So, yeah, apparently this was all a big. So what's this say? A day after the statement was published, Tay reappeared on social media after a 5-year hiatus to say that she and her brother were very much alive. Interesting. Is that her brother? No, manager. Okay. So he's the manager, and it says that he had doubts.
He has "I manage a 14-year-old" written all over him.
Yeah, right. Are you allowed to do that? That's a grown man tracking everywhere that this young child goes. If he didn't have the title manager, that's some questionable behavior for a grown person. Just the idea of child stars has always been interesting. I mean, she at least is doing it on her own. Maybe nobody is diddling her, right? Nobody is fucking around with her, but you can definitely see if you're part of like Disney or Nickelodeon, those kids don't really make it out unscathed, if that makes sense. I mean, a little bit, right? Miranda Cosgrove, she seems to be okay. Josh from Drake and Josh ended up okay. He's still kind of popular. He was in Oppenheimer.
He had a really bad drug problem for a little bit, though.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. I forgot about that. Drake is a diddler.
Drake is a full-blown diddler.
Drake turned into a full-blown diddler.
The High School Musical cast, they're okay. Like Zac Efron, he's doing well.
Sure. Yeah. He's good. That's a good one. Who was the one that got bagged for the nudes? Vanessa Hudgens? She
seems fine.
She seems okay. She had that little hiccup there where everyone saw her naked. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not that bad being a megastar as a child, because when you can fuck off. Like if you just come
Macaulay Culkin, he's weird, but he's okay.
He is, but he had a weird stage. Like he had a drug stage, definitely. I don't know. I think it's inevitable. You don't get all the people your age when you're 6 on a TV show are running around eating ice cream, not caring about anything, losing baby teeth. Does that happen when you're 6? I don't know. If you lost a baby tooth, but you were also on
Full
the
House.
Wizards of Waverly Place or Full House, it's like, all right, cool. We got to figure out a way to make a tooth for her because she doesn't lose a tooth in the show. We have to fix that. That needs to be fixed. You're broken, child. We need to fix this. Yeah, no ice cream. You can't have ice cream. You're going to be swollen for the camera. There's a camera that's going to be on you all the time, and it will be there forever. So be as likable and as happy as you can. Yes, these two people that are playing your parents in this movie are going to be fighting and hitting each other, and then they're going to have sex in the room next to you. It's acting. It shouldn't change anything about your psyche going forward. But I don't think that's the case as much anymore because now kids can they don't have a media mogul. They don't have to go that route if they want to get famous.
Yeah, they could just pretend to be a black person on Instagram.
Yes, exactly, which is a little tamer, right? It's a little, she's Asian, right? I feel like Asians and black people, they kind of have always...
Maybe she just wasn't good at math like the rest of the Asians, so
right.
She had to act out.
She didn't play the violin, so she learned to break dance.
And hold cash.
Hold cash, that's right. Yeah, I mean, good for her fans, whoever they are. I'm sure they're the future leaders of this country. They are the CEOs of the future. They will be innovating things. They'll be creating the world in which we're going to be living in once my generation is done destroying it all. Maybe these kids will have an idea of what to do forward, and they'll all be influenced by a legend known as Lil Tay, who is very much alive, again, against our best wishes on the show.
Dead to me.
She's dead to us. Unless she wants to make an appearance.
No, she's not allowed on.
We can ask her the hard-hitting questions, though. We can figure out if her plan was to fake her death and move in with Tupac, which I'd assume she knows where he is, right? If she's going to be, involved in this bacchanal of entertainment that we love to enjoy so much. Hopefully, in the future, she dies. For sure. Hopefully. I'm sure it'll happen, but I mean, we just want it to be a little sooner than it's supposed to be, I suppose. Who wanted to hack her is the real question. Who chose her of all the influencers?
It said her account was inactive for like 5 years or something.
Right.
So maybe it was just an easy target.
It was the Russians. The Russians snuck in and said, this is the girl that these people worship. She's one of the girls that the little kids aspire to be like, and we can't have this. And maybe it was. Maybe it was a Russian bot that just went in there, made a whole statement. I don't know. Funny little trick. It definitely wasn't anonymous. Anonymous wouldn't do something this light.
And if they did, they would do it to like Khloe Kardashian.
Yeah, they'd make it a bigger deal. That's true. What happened to Anonymous? They were always fun. I mean, they're definitely still a thing. But I just remember them hacking the PlayStation servers years ago, back when Modern Warfare 2 was still a big deal. And tons of people were upset. Tons and tons and tons. More people were upset about that than anything that was actually to be worried about.
than the message that Anonymous was spreading?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely not anonymous. But anyway, Lil Tay. She'll end up on a track somewhere, like a song, right? Maybe the Tory Lanez Prison album. Anyway, we speaking of prison, we have two very unlikely characters now they have some credentials to be shared. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, again indicted. They had to indict me. They indicted me.
That's not bad.
What a loser. They indicted me. No, Donald Trump and Young Thug. Very interesting. Very interesting juxtaposition because they're both getting hit by the same district attorney, the same charges, the RICO law. The RICO law, which was the law that Rudy Giuliani created to get rid of the Italian mafia. We'll talk about him shortly. Let's see what this says. You might have never expected it, but now Young Thug and former President Donald Trump have something in common. Moreover, both face RICO charges, headed by the same district attorney, Fulton County's Fannie Willis. Now, that's a hell of a name, first of all. Fannie Willis. I like that name. That's like a TV show judge. It's like,
yeah, there's only like 3 things you could do with that name. You could be a judge, you could be like a train operator,
and you can have like a booth at the county fair.
Yeah, or maybe like an elementary school teacher.
Yeah, Fannie Willis. She's been there a real long time. Oh, that's Fannie. Don't worry about her. She takes a real long time to go up and down the stairs. Of course, you most likely know about Thugger and YSL's RICO case. That's a hard R. YSL's RICO case already, which has been one of the biggest rap stories of the past few years. However, amid already mounting legal trouble for number 45, he now faces a 41-count indictment for election interference in 2020 in Georgia. Furthermore, this is now Trump's 4th criminal case he was indicted on and comes amid his run for president in 24. I do think it is at least interesting that the former president of the United States is pictured in an article with a rapper, like a famous rapper, a big name in entertainment. Trump is also a big name in entertainment, but happened to be president at one point. I wonder if Thug does get out, could he run for president? Because he will then have the same credentials that one of our former presidents had in the fact that he got indicted on RICO charges. Now, what I understand about both cases in regards to what the RICO law actually is, the RICO law was created by Rudy Giuliani, who used it to take down the mafia because the mafia was too good. They were too good. They had to actually create a law to get rid of them. And it's really a simple law. All it is if you're engaging in criminal activity with a group of people, you can get hit with a RICO law. Now, it's funny because the government has always engaged in illegal activities, but weren't regarded as criminals, right? It had to be part of a criminal organization. That's part of the acronym, I think. I don't know the whole thing. Racketeering something, criminal organization. And now that he's technically not part of the government at the moment, he, I guess they're trying to charge him with racketeering, with fucking around. I like this here. I like what this says. These specific charges claim that Trump engaged in organized criminal activity to tamper with the last election process in the state. Apparently, a crucial bit of evidence in the case relates to a January 2nd, 2021 phone call between Trump and Giuliani, plus several of the former's lawyers. They allegedly spoke to Georgia's then Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, pleading for him to look into claims of voting irregularities and find more votes for Trump. That's tough, right? Find more votes. That's a hard thing to say. I love that picture. That's a great juxtaposition. I mean, look at that. Look at what they're wearing. It's worlds apart.
There's Fanny for you.
Is that Fanny?
It's got to be Fanny.
Yeah.
It's big bad Fanny.
Look at that. She's trying to take, I mean, if she's able to get these guys locked up for as long as she wants, that's got to be one of the highest track records for a district attorney anywhere. Definitely in Georgia, but anywhere ever. If
Big
Fanny,
bad Fanny.
if Fanny is able to lock up the former president, which is a massive feat, but also lock up Young Thug, which arguably a even bigger feat. She's the world champ. She is the reigning heavyweight world champion of justice because she will have put behind bars two massive figures with massive cult followings in two different disciplines. Now, what I think is interesting about Young Thug's case is he thinks that the prosecution is trying to go against the case that they're making is they're trying to censor him more or less because he wants to be able to talk about illegal things that he and his buddies have done in his music. He thinks that he should be able to talk about illegal activities, kicking indoors and selling drugs and killing people and robbing people with a big group of people that he hangs out with often. He thinks that that's just part of his artistic expression as an artist.
I'd agree.
I would agree as well. I think that the highest form of loyalty in this world has to be to artistic expression. You have to look past morality, and you have to look past laws and the legal system because art is what drives culture, not laws. Laws just restrict. They box us up. That's what laws are. If we want our culture to become more intellectual, become smarter, more aware, more understanding of all the people we have in this world, not only just in our country, but in the entire world, we have to allow artists like Young Thug to talk about mugging old women, kicking in people's teeth, stealing shit from them, robbing, raping, pillaging, stealing.
What is pillaging technically?
I think it's a lost art.
Is it just raping?
I think pillaging is literally breaking stuff. I think pillaging is when people go somewhere and they tear shit down, they break things.
Because it's always tied with raping also. So it's
Raping
raping and pillaging the village.
It's the Vikings that do it. What does this say?
To rob of goods by force, especially in time of war. You plunder.
Yes. These are ancient words. To take as spoils. I like that. To take as spoils.
To take spoils by force.
Ah.
Looting.
Very nice. To take spoils by force. That means you've already fucked everybody up. You're just taking the shit that's left over. That's what we need to hear. That's
multitasking, raping, and pillaging.
That's what the Vikings were on, and that's what I mean, if we can watch shows that have that going on, right?
Yeah, like you don't get mad at Quentin Tarantino when he has all these people getting killed. Maybe you do, but
yeah, it's that nobody's going to have a case against him. You know, and we all know that Quentin Tarantino is part of a gang that he runs. But no, it is. I mean, it is kind of. You know, we do, for some reason, in music, we do hyper focus on some of the things that are said. However, we don't really bat an eye to what we watch.
Try that in a small town.
Yeah, we'll go back to that. Try that in a goddamn small town. Exactly, but that's another case. For whatever reason, with music, it's bad. But when we have a visual art where we can literally see it. I mean, if you like Star Wars, there's killing, tons of killing. Our favorite things to watch are all movies of people getting killed. John Wick, right? I still haven't seen it.
Even realistic ones like Law and Order.
Yeah.
It's been on the TV forever. 30 years probably.
Exactly. Or forget that. Even more raw, there's Twitter pages or Twitter accounts and Instagram pages where it's literally people just getting hurt. It's people falling, it's tragedies, it's car crashes, it's people getting... Did you see that video of the guy that tried to rob this store and these two Middle Eastern fellas beat the dog shit out of him with a big stick? It looked like a movie scene. Like, it was kind of funny. Like, they got this dude, they got him on the ground, they hit him with something, and they got him on the ground, and they kept him there. One guy held him there, and another guy beat the fuck out of him with, like, a broomstick. Fucked him up.
I'm going to have to watch that later.
And I think now they're trying to charge these fellas. When really, I mean, it was self-defense. I mean, the guy was on the ground, not moving, screaming for help. Those two fellas were protecting their store. They had to beat him. They had to keep beating him. He was trying to pillage. He was trying to pillage. And that's the thing, guys. I mean, we draw the line on music.
You pillage around, you might get pillaged.
Right.
It's the fuck around and find out of pillaging.
That's what the Vikings used to say when they'd arrive on your coastline while they played drums and blew out of flutes that they made from human skulls. And ate mushrooms. The Vikings ate a lot of mushrooms. Yeah. And they said, what? Pillage or get pillaged? What is it? Fuck around and find out. Yeah. And then they did what they had to do. But they never wrote any music about it, which is a shame. Because then we could look into the... That's the whole thing of hearing music from a long time ago. You can kind of step into... Like when people listen to Young Thug... 200 years from now, they're going to understand the society we were in at the time, right? Because he has such groundbreaking lyrics like halftime, half a perky, half a zanny, halftime. That's from his hit song, Halftime, which is a little old. I'm kind of pushing it back with that one. But anyway, it is interesting that we have two powerful fellas in the same state being charged with the same thing. And historically, the RICO has only been for legitimate criminal enterprises, which U.S. politics has never been grouped in. It's not supposed to be, because if it is, then it's then we realize it's all a facade, and we can't deal with that, because he was president while it was happening. You're not supposed to hit the president with a RICO law. You're not supposed to hit the guy talk about falling down on your own sword. Rudy Giuliani, he was supposed to be the good Italian. There's this thing in the Italian community where they dislike the stereotype of all Italians being in the mafia. They really don't like that.
And then he proved them wrong.
His name is fucking Giuliani, so he's Italian as shit. And he's the before he was the mayor, he was the district attorney in New York. And he was able to take down the mob. He was the good Italian. That's why eventually ran for mayor. A lot of Italians in New York, so he was able to win. He was supposed to be the saving grace. Look at Giuliani. He took out those filthy crime doing wops that we don't like to associate with, even though they're the ones who we talk more about because they're cool and they wear cool suits and they make money and they have cool movies made about them. This guy was able to take him out by making up a law which really, they should have came up with a long time ago, if we're being honest. Like, you're telling me before the creation of the RICO law, whenever that was, in the 70s or whenever time that was, nobody decided to come up with the idea of a law that restricted crime groups from doing things? Crime organizations? Were there not... Was there... I guess the mafia created organized crime, but they were around for a while.
There was probably just no written thing that if you can't tie a crime to a specific person, or like if you tie a crime to that specific person and everyone else is still doing nefarious shit and they just step right into that guy's place, then it's just... You needed something in paper to, like, nail the whole group as a group.
Sure. But it took a while.
Too long.
It took a while. It took the mafia owning most of New York City. So what is it? Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Okay. Yeah. So if you're part of a fucking criminal group and you're doing fucked up shit, we have a law for you now.
So that was 1970.
1970 it came out, right. And, the mob still, they were still able to do shit, Thank God for the mob, because without that, then we wouldn't have the privacy violations that we have now. Because the mafia took rise to bugging homes. Right? Thank God for them, because now we can bug homes efficiently. That's when they first started doing that. And it makes you wonder if it had any influence on the fact that everything else we own is bugged, more or less, right? For lack of a better term. Like our phones, definitely, right? Like we're talking about bugs. I'm sure I'm going to go on my Instagram and there'll be, pages about butterflies or something coming up. So long story short, guys, this is quite a time. This is quite a time for the country, in that a president and a rapper could be sitting side by side in the same jail. I can only imagine the fire tracks that are going to come out of that. An opening line by Donald Trump in a song, a good one, right? That'll be interesting.
If he remixes Mac Miller's Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Because he's really on some Donald Trump shit now.
Yeah, he'll have to be. Yeah. Yeah, and he's famous for pardoning Kodak Black, right? So he's got some clout. Trump is he's no slouch. People do like him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I look forward to that album coming out, because Young Thug dropped an album while he was in jail, which is interesting. I've always thought that was funny, because I know Gucci Mane has a lot of music that he made in jail. mainly because he spent a lot of time in jail doing that. But nonetheless, the legal system cannot stop art, and we need to hear Young Thug's take on the world, just as we need Donald Trump's influence in this great ecosystem that we've created. Next, another fun-hearted, lighthearted article. This one is actually a little more lighthearted. It has to do with the famous Blind Side, the Blind Side movie. Yes, another hoaxed. I'll keep saying it. I don't give a shit. So it turns out the rich white family that essentially paid for and bought a future NFL athlete didn't really adopt him. He didn't really. Turns out they're bad people. All of a sudden,
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, she looked very good in that movie. I have no qualms with her. She's been a Woman Crush Wednesday for a long time, for me. But it turns out Michael Oher found out that his family didn't adopt him. I guess. I don't know what the Tuohys, is that how you say their last name?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, turns out they're not great. Turns out they're, making money off this kid that they just happened to buy. I mean, I guess they didn't know when they got him, but let's just read. Let's just read what this says. Retired NFL star Michael Oher, whose supposed adoption out of grinding poverty by a wealthy white family was immortalized in the 2009 movie The Blind Side, petitioned a Tennessee court Monday with allegations that a central element of the story was a lie concocted by the family to enrich itself at his expense. The 14-page petition filed in Shelby County, Tennessee probate court alleges that Sean and Leah Ann Tuohy, who took Oher into their home as a high school student, never adopted him. Instead, less than 3 months after Oher turned 18 in 2004, the petition says, the couple tricked him into signing a document making them his conservators, which gave them legal authority to make business deals in his name. The petition further alleges that the Tuohys used their power as conservators to strike a deal that paid them and their two birth children millions of dollars in royalties from an Oscar-winning film that earned more than $300 million, while Oher got nothing for a story that would have not existed without him. In the years since, the Tuohys have continued calling the 37-year-old their adopted son and using it. Okay, so this is a clear case of
Pillaging.
Yeah, good filler there. Pillaging. Yeah,
He got pillaged.
He got pillaged. You mean he didn't make $1 off that? They're saying he didn't make any money off that movie?
Sounds like a pillaging to me.
Oh, my goodness. And the whole time he was under the impression that those people adopted him. They didn't adopt him. They just gave him a bed. They gave him a bed. They bought him a truck, right? And they said, this kid, this is when he was in high school, so they already knew. In the movie, they make it seem like we're going to have this kid start playing football now that he's in our house.
But even in the movies, they kind of make it seem like their intentions weren't 100% pure.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other part of it. People are shocked that this white family that bought a black kid that was, very big and playing football for where was it that he grew up? It was a big college football place, obviously, because that's how he got into the NFL.
Well, yeah, he went to Ole Miss. I don't know where they actually lived.
Right. Well, either way, that family, they were incredibly wealthy, probably had tons of influence, and they were like, we got us a cash cow. Yes. And then once he got into the NFL...
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis. Okay, that makes sense, because he called for the whole hearing in Memphis, the petition in Memphis. I mean, it's a little late on Michael Oher's part, right? He was in the NFL. He's retired now. He's a 37-year-old man. You'd think after the movie came out, he would have been like, hey,
I never read Charlemagne the Bull.
yeah, where's the money? A lot of people have seen this movie. I mean, that was a huge movie in 2000. We watched it in school. That was 2009. Okay, so I remember watching it in middle school. I wasn't in middle school until, was I? 2000? Maybe, yeah, I might have been, right? Because I think high school was 2011. So 7th grade, something like that. We watched it in school. I remember watching it in school. That was a huge hit, and to hear that this guy didn't make any money is obviously horrible. But I don't know if it's worse than finding out that your parents, your adopted parents, didn't really adopt you. I don't know what's worse. I'd argue the money part. You know, the money part, because we all know NFL offensive linemen, they don't do as well as the rest of the guys, right? If Michael Oher was
They're actually, no, like left tackles, they're the highest paid in the league.
Interesting. Really?
Yeah, he probably made a lot of fucking money.
So he did well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he played for a while on a good team. He was on the Ravens, if I remember correctly.
Like next to, the star offensive players, usually a good offensive tackle is like the highest paid players in the league.
Right. I mean, I guess it makes sense. They do a lot of work. But nonetheless, that's not royalty money, you know? I mean, he got paid a lot for that time, and I'm sure he invested it, but the royalties, they gave it to their own kids. They gave it to their actual kids, right? This is a treacherous story why you should never trust white people at all, ever. Never trust white people unless they work for YouTube. Or they work for Meta, right? Them you trust. You trust them because...
over 9 seasons, he made over $34 million. And that doesn't include, like, bonuses and endorsements.
Right. So, okay.
It should have been a nice movie check, too, but...
Totally. Maybe he is getting greedy. Maybe he's asking for a little too much all at once. I mean, he wants... money from the movie, and he also wants the love of his supposed adopted parents. That's a little much. It's too much, you know. But this is one of those stories that we like, and I don't mean we, just us two in this room. Us in general, right? We love to hear a story about a beautiful family thing, right? That was supposed to be good, and turns out. Uno reverse, little switcheroo happens, and the parents are horrible deviants that, kind of took some money from this guy. They also put him in a position to win, so it's a very hard case, I think, right? Because without this family, he kind of doesn't exist, but also without him, they don't exist. It's a something that probably shouldn't happen amongst family, right? Like actual family. Like I'm sure the two kids, the biological kids, are sitting back and they're like just watching it. They're kind of watching it like when you're ever in like a Walmart or a public place and somebody's arguing with the cashier, like, and it's getting a little rowdy. They're kind of just like sitting back watching. This is a little uncomfortable. Wow, Mom and Dad. Do you think they knew? I can't imagine the kids knew. They clue the kids in. They're like, hey, listen, you have to pretend.
Are they in a RICO case now then?
Interesting.
Is that a criminal?
Is it criminal?
If they were pillaging Michael Oher?
See, I mean, it depends if their family has a history of it, I think. And if their family can be deemed a criminal organization. Like maybe the
so they'd
sister
have to, like, audit the entire family.
Yeah, maybe they'd have to check the backgrounds. Did the sister have Sandra Bullock's, sister have anything to do with this? Were they selling drugs along the way? Was Michael Oher just a drug mule? I think that could be the next thing. They got him into the NFL.
What a blindside it must have been.
Exactly. Talk about a blind side. This was one that Big Mike could not. He couldn't block. He couldn't block this one. They got around. It's a shame. It is a shame, but nonetheless, interesting story. Interesting story. A real back and forth battle between the family that never was. The family that never was. A family that won our hearts, that we were calling a family. Turns out it's not. Turns out it is a load of dog shit. Now, I guess we can go into some financial shit here, right? This is a one-stop shop for for all news. We can't forget that I have a bachelor's degree in finance from the greatest finance program in the world, Rhode Island College. So it's always nice to touch on the calamity. Is that a good word? Calamity? That's like
I don't know. You're the finance guy.
That's the. Remember Jimmy Neutron? What was the Dr. Calamity? He never finished anything. Anyway,
I remember watching the show, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think confusion might be a better word. Kind of the state we're both in as we're talking right now. So some of you might remember the movie The Big Short, right? And if you don't, it has to do with the housing crisis that happened in 2008, the big collapse, the junk mortgages. Bunch of bad things happened. A bunch of bad things happened over a really long period of time. Between the predatory loans, giving people money that they couldn't pay back, giving people homes that they couldn't afford, people literally walking out of their homes with nothing, empty, bankrupt, lots of bad, illegal shit happening from a criminal organization that should have been getting hit with the RICO, known as the United States financial system. Lots of bad things. Lots of people went under. And The Big Short is about this time because there was a guy whose name is something, what is it? Michael Burry. Michael Burry, in the movie, he's played by Christian Bale. It's a good movie. It was billed as a comedy, but it's not that funny. It's not super funny knowing, that this guy knew more than everybody else, knew that there was no way to fix it, so he went ahead and shorted the entire housing market, and everybody was like, this is the strongest market we've ever had. You're a fool. You don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no. I've stayed up all night. I'm a psycho. I read things that nobody else reads. I know things that nobody else knows. And people were writing him off. And he was right. He ended up being right at a horrible, horrible consequence, the entire economy collapsing. So now, as of Tuesday, August 15th, 2023, Michael Burry just bet $1.6 billion on a stock market crash. This guy, like I said, has a pretty decent track record of figuring this shit out. Burry is making his bearish bets against the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100, according to Security Exchange Commission filings released Monday. Burry's fund, blah, 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 bought $866 million in put options. That's the right to sell an asset, whatever, against a fund that tracks the S&P 500, and $739 million in put options against a fund that tracks the NASDAQ. He's using more than 90%. Okay, so this is big, all right? So he's saying that there's going to be a big collapse, and he's going to make money on it again. He's going to make a lot of money on it again. If you want to get in on this, you're going to have to find a way into his fund. Because I remember in the movie, he was a hedge fund manager, and he was telling people, hey, this is going to happen. And they're like, no, 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 don't do this. We don't believe in you. But he did it anyway. So you got to be able to... This guy's got the diamond hands. Nobody else can fuck with this dude when it comes to diamond hands. He's got diamond hands. He is not going to go against the shit that he's thinking because he was right before and he thinks he's going to be right again. Now, I don't know how long he has before he can cash in these put options. Maybe it's a few years.
It should say. Because those are usually contracted, like, it could be months, it could be a year in advance.
Exactly. Yeah. Either way, I love this because we have learned through the crypto markets and the crypto movement, and we'll get into that as well a little bit. That money is literally make believe. It's ones and zeros, on a board. Literally make believe. It's the value of things have been made by us. It's what one person will pay for it. Like we said at the top of the episode, if there's a pile of dog shit that some guy thinks is worth $500,000, then now the going rate for piles of dog shit is $500,000 because all you need is this guy. This guy will buy it for $500,000. And if anyone else wants piles of dog shit that are now worth all this money, they're going to have to meet him. They're going to have to meet him there. So this guy is suggesting that our pile of dog shit that we live and breathe on, as well as the the whole world kind of does the same. He thinks that it's going to crash. His bet is... It's funny because people look at degenerate gamblers and they look at them as people with problems. They say, look at that guy. That guy is a risk taker. I'm talking about a degenerate gambler. Maybe your uncle. Maybe you got an uncle, right? He grabbed your mom's wedding ring and he fucking sold it, and then he bet the horses, right? And he loses it. He loses money. He sits there. He smokes cigarettes. He never tips the ladies at the casino that give him the free drinks. He just sits there and he gambles. He wears a diaper. He takes big risks. Whatever he wins, he puts it on a coin toss. He throws it. He throws it away. You look at that guy, you say he's got a problem. But if you look at a guy who's talking about the financial markets, because that sounds good, that sounds like a system that we should be entrusted in, and a system that holds everything together, you see if that guy makes a big bet, a bet worth $1.6 billion, you say that guy is smart. That guy, he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's not a lunatic. He doesn't sit up all night drinking coffee, looking at numbers, wondering where he can edge an extra profit out. He doesn't do that. He's a genius. And if he does do it, then it's in the name of the greatest monetary system the world has ever known, the American one. All right? And he's there doing it, and it's smart. People like to differentiate these two worlds as if they're not both gambling. Like, he's literally making a bet that everything is going to go wrong. And he's probably, the economic collapse has been a massive topic of conversation for a while. Because it's an interesting flavor of terror, A lot of the terror that we're given has been fear of warmongering groups outside of the country, right? Weapons, climate disasters, right? We talked about Maui. Supposedly, this is the worst natural disaster that's happened ever in Hawaii that we've been able to record, which is interesting because it's an island of volcanoes. I don't know, right? Maybe we're calling it a little too early, but anyway. these are the things we're mostly worried about, right? And the money one is one that we're worried about as well, but it might not be as pressing, right? It seems like it's something that'll just fix itself because it is, in and of itself, it is abstract. The idea of a marketplace where people buy pieces of other companies that, it is really a mess, and it is abstract, and it's a strange thing. But if you want to make some bread, then maybe you should listen to this guy. Maybe he's right. If you want to bet on the demise of our monetary system, this is the guy you want to listen to. This is the guy who needs to be on YouTube, getting people's attention. He needs to be the guy that before your video of whatever you're watching, right, insane knockouts or something, the guy that comes up and says, hey, do you want to make money? Look at this car that I own. Look at all these things I own. You need to put your money with me. We're betting on the end. We're betting on the end. That's what you're betting on with this. You are betting on the end of money. That's a big endeavor. That's sketchy. Now here's the good thing. If he is right, and when that does happen, there isn't a complete demise of our country, S&P shares are going to be pretty cheap.
Stock market crash happens all the time. Doesn't scare me.
Sure. It's ebbs and
Excites me, if
flows.
anything.
Right. A lot of millionaires made in
Got to buy on the way up.
2008. Yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money when there's a recession. I'm sure in the 20s too, or the 30s, whatever. The Great Depression. That was.
Set a little something aside for the day it crashes. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, once it hits, imagine the S&P is like $10 a share.
Yeah. I'll put fucking everything I have in it. It's going to
That'll
go
be
back up to a few hundred.
That's a hell of a bet. That's a hell of a bet you'd have to make, though. I mean, what better served are you going to be? Because if the S&P goes down to $10, that means things are going to be very expensive. Interest rates are going to be very high. I mean, a box of Cheerios will run you $30. It's going to be mayhem. It's going to be chaos. So if you want in on the deal, you got to listen to Mr. Michael Burry. However, it is hard to short. It's not an easy thing. You kind of need a lot of money to even have an account where you can short things, You can't really be a small player. You need to have, I think Fidelity, you got to have at least 10 grand as collateral because it's really borrowing. That's what you're doing. Same thing with options. I mean, options you can make a lot of money, but it's a big bet.
Options you can't put on ETFs or any sort of commodity.
Right.
Only real stocks on options.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's all just it's a make believe idea, and money doesn't translate. Like the reward system of money doesn't really translate. And what I'm trying to say here is like work and money. When humans like first started working, it was like, all right, we're hunting for as long as it takes to eat for the next week. However long it takes for us to catch this fucking buffalo, we're going to do it, and then we're going to eat, and we're going to chop wood, and that'll give us a fire, that'll give us warmth. We'll make shit out of the buffalo that'll also keep us warm. The work kind of translated. Now it's like we're going to sit down for 40 hours, some arbitrary number, 8 hours a day, and then you're going to send messages to people. You're going to send notes to people in make-believe land, known as the internet, and it's going to end up in their possession. They're going to be able to read it. You're going to go back, and you do that for however long you need to, or whatever your job is. It doesn't necessarily need to be that. Maybe you make pizzas. Maybe you fucking build buildings, you write poetry, whatever your fucking thing is. You do that, and then these magic numbers appear in a bank that somehow translates to you being able to eat that week. Eat something that's probably bad also. I was thinking about all the food content there is and how disgusting a lot of it is. Like, do you ever see, like, the Devour Power couple?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to go to some of those places that they talk about. But some of the places, and not just them, I'm just picking them because they're well-known. There's so many food bloggers and people who make these recipes that look kind of disgusting. Like, it's really an aping. It's really an orgy of who can make the most bastardized version of a meal that exists.
I follow the Grub Father. That's one of my favorite ones.
Oh, and I'm talking shit about them, but I love to watch them, especially while I'm eating something horrible. Like, if I'm eating something disgusting and bad, oh, yeah, I'm watching these guys. I want to see them eat hot Cheeto-dusted, crusted, cheesy chicken sandwiches. I want to watch them scarf them down. Food has really gotten disgusting, right? I mean, you see those. It's gotten disgusting, but it hasn't deterred us from trying it. It hasn't deterred us. Is this guy a nobody? We were having a hard time finding him. The Grub Father. No, I mean, some of the food is, it's repulsive, right? It's repulsive. It's either repulsive or it's incredibly romanticized, right? There's people who have different angles, different cameras, cooking. One of the highest achievements there used to be in America was to be a celebrity chef. I remember as a kid there were tons of celebrity chef shows. I mean, Emeril was a fucking rock star. Emeril was the king with the BAM and the Louisiana accent, even though he's from Fall River, Massachusetts. Is this him, the Grub Father?
Yeah, I'll share it with the people.
Oh, like, look at that. These big, greasy, fried, crispy, crunchy, chewy, yummy, so good chicken sandwiches. Look
Giant pizza and tacos on a private jet.
Look at the size of that. You see, that to us is living like a king. That's what a king does, right? That's what king's disease is, the gout.
Ooh, garlic knot pizza.
Look at the crust. The crust is garlic knots. Oh, my God. That looks so goddamn good. You can't help yourself sometimes. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, sometimes you're an animal. You gotta go for it. You gotta go for it. I love that we put this food guy, like, right over another guy betting, the story of a guy betting against the economy. It's nice. It is nice. It's another form. And speaking of celebrity chefs, I remember being a kid and thinking Rachel Ray was like
a real chef.
A real chef, but like, up there with J-Lo in terms of attractiveness. And I've seen her now, and let me tell you something, Rachel. Step away from the table. You're getting old. You're not looking as good as you once did. The celebrity chef is it's not really a thing anymore. Now it's just kind of anybody that has a cool aesthetic. That's the other thing. If you have a cool aesthetic in your apartment, you can film yourself doing anything. You can literally film yourself doing anything as long as you look cool. If you're thin with a wife beater and you smoke a cigarette with wet hair while you look out the window and you put a song on a record and you stand there and like look out the window for a second and you got baggy pants on, you'll get 10,000 views easy, If you're able to just do something that looks cool, There's so many people that they try to do this like bohemian, cheap style of living, and then you look at their apartment or the room that they're in, and you're like, that oven is like $3,000. Like that stove is. I know it's meant to look old, but that teapot is made of elephant tusk. You know, that's not exactly cheap living. You're just kind of messing around here. Nonetheless, guys, we end this episode with tons of hope for not only Donald Trump and Young Thug, but for everybody that Michael Burry is influencing, because we should probably listen to him this time. And when I say listen to him, I don't mean try to fix it, because we don't want him to lose a lot of money. We don't want him to lose a lot of money, which he will. It's his client's money. We got to listen to him and invest. We got to invest, and whatever money you make off of that, please somebody send a masked assassin to Lil Tay's house to take out her and her brother, just so that pillage their ass, just so our last episode isn't wrong. We want her dead so that episode doesn't sound dumb. God damn it.